Perfect. So Ben, how you been? How's your day going?
Pretty good. Just I was training, and then when I was talking to you earlier, I was like in the car afterwards, like driving my wife and my son around, like getting like groceries and stuff, like packing up the house.
How has quarantine been for you? How has training been throughout the pandemic and everything that's going on?
Uh, well, it's been all right now. I mean, in the beginning it was kind of rough because we had to pretty much stop training. We weren't able to get to the gym. I had a fight that I wanted to have in April that I couldn't have because of everything going on, and I wasn't sure if I'd be able to make weight and train properly. So that kind of had to stop. But as of recently, like especially the last like month or so, it has been pretty good. Training's been really good, and I've been able to like schedule things with my coaches so I can train with them and get good workouts in.
What sorts of alterations did you make? I'm in Canada still, so things are still kind of like slow here. They haven't opened anything up yet, so it's been like primarily cardio for people here. But what sorts
Yeah.
of things did you do throughout the pandemic to kind of stay in shape?
Oh, that's in shape. Well, I was doing sprints, like hill sprints. That was like the kickoff of like a couple days of the week, and then like a lot of cardio stuff in the house. But I couldn't really do like real like running and jumping stuff in the house because we were staying at an apartment, and you can't just be jumping up and down doing burpees, and it was a weird situation because outside they were doing construction. So when I tried to go outside to work out, like in the street, it would be like 8, 9 construction workers looking at So it was a weird setup. But over time, I managed to come out with a program that was how to say maximum efficiency, and like minimum jumping up and down, So I got to stay in shape pretty good.
So now that your fight's been announced, how are you feeling? It must feel good to finally have another name, to look forward to.
Uh, Well, I mean, I'm pretty excited now because there's been a lot of ups and downs since last year, and trying to get back into the octagon, and also getting opponents, and then all these things like that. There's been a lot of stuff going on. So for me, it's great to have somebody to fight, and also have an opportunity to fight because in the beginning it seemed like we would be fighting for a long time. Here's one thing where it was like, wow. So I'm happy that things have been going so smoothly, like as far as all the events been going smoothly, and they've been like taking all the proper precautions to make things work out. And for me, now I can just focus on going out there and expressing myself properly. Getting the best form of expression for me is being able to compete, and be able to fight because just like what my life is kind of based on. So I get to do that, so I'm pretty happy about it.
Yeah, you did spend quite a bit of time on the sidelines after your last fight. What sorts of things took place there? Like, what was it? Injuries? Was it not finding fights, or was it a combination of both that really kept you on the sidelines?
It was just injuries. It was a lot of, it was a real up and down situation. I got injured. I tore my bicep, and I didn't know, but I also broke my foot in the fight also. And the bicep thing was obvious. So I ended up going to uh, going to get surgery, and it was taken care of, and it was pretty mechanical the way it healed. It healed like within, man, I was like a month or two. I would say like 2 months because it happened in April, and by August I was training again, like all out training. I was pretty big though, I was training. But then around that time when I thought, okay, fine, I'm back now, I'm training. I found my foot was broken, and I had to take a whole step back, and that was actually a more dangerous injury than the bicep one. So then I had to, sit back and watch that whole thing heal, and now to be completely immobilized because I can't, drive or walk around, and my foot's healing. So that was like the up and down part, and then, and then there's more. When we got to this fight in April, when I'm looking forward to fighting again in April, the pandemic goes down, and then all the fights get canceled. So that's what I'm saying. When I say I'm happy to be fighting right now, I'm ecstatic. I'm ecstatic to be able to compete because it really was a lot of ups and downs.
I find in the eyes of a lot of MMA fans, it's always there's a little bit of recency bias. You're always like, oh my God, I remember him from like 2 weekends ago. But you had a
Yeah.
big win over a high level fighter in Alan Jobin over a year ago. kind of disappears off people's radars. Like, yeah, it was a huge win. You haven't fought in like over a year. So it's kind of like, how does it feel now? I mean, you have to feel like this fight here, fighting a newcomer, a very, very tough Jared Gooden, almost feels, does it feel like a step back to you? Like, you just had a huge win, should really be jumping for a bigger name, and do you get a guy like that? How does it feel?
Well, for me, like my whole upbringing in fighting is like I guess pretty old school, because before, we never would know who we were fighting until we got to the venue. And you would hear somebody's name, and you would look for somebody that looks like that person's name, and then like once the scales, once you weigh in, you kind of know who you're fighting. So for me, this kind of fight, it doesn't feel like a step back, because I'm just used to fighting people randomly anyway. Like, you could fight somebody who was like really like a world champion, and then like a month later fight somebody who was like only had a couple fights locally. And what I've learned from having that kind of experience is that all fights are hard. Like, it doesn't matter if the guy is skilled at a certain okay. Let me explain it properly. It sounds crazy. At a certain skill level, it doesn't matter who you fight, right? Because if you're able to compete with the best guys in the world, right, then you can fight with them and defeat them. But then you might fight a guy who is not as well known, but is also very tough, and it'll be a difficult fight. It's not about whether you can hit them or not. It has like a lot of variables, like how many hits can they take, like how much do they really want to come forward? Like all these things can make a fight hard. So I don't really look at it as a step back, because if they give me this fight, then this is who they want me to fight next, and I'm gonna go out there and perform. And I'm not gonna I don't want to say hold back, but feel as though I need to treat him differently because he's a newcomer into the sport. Because I mean, just a few fights ago, I was new, and I had all these expectations of what the UFC was gonna be like, and now I'm more comfortable and I understand what it feels like. It is a jump in skill level, and it is a jump in intensity. So I got to make sure that I'm able to, give him the respect of giving him all that attention that he needs when I get into the fight.
Yeah. That being said, I mean, you look at guys who come into the sport, and almost everybody has early losses. You had an early loss in your career, an early UFC loss. How have you learned from both of those fights, and how do you think a loss impacts you, and what sort of things can you use from those losses to kind of better yourself as a martial artist?
Oh, well, for me, it's important to remember how you felt during those kind of fights. Like, everything leading up to it, everything during the fight, all those things are important. The way I used it the first time, the first time it happened, I really sat down and thought about my process. Like, what was really the problem? Because I had a chance to finish that fight and I didn't. And I was like, okay, why? And that was a whole conversation I had with like my sister, my uncle, like all my friends and family about my fighting style, about fighting and the mental part of it, and I was able to fix that because I took things more seriously, and when I say more seriously, I just meant not in terms of that taking fighting serious, but just in terms of finishing the fight, like more seriously, like. It's not a game, like when you win a lot of fights by knockout, especially throughout my career in the beginning, especially like I had a long string of knockout wins, and then it kind of became a thing, I was like, all right, like this is how I win. So you start to kind of feel like you can play around with it, and that was, I think, a downfall of me at that time period where I was just kind of playing around with the finish. The one I had in when I first came to UFC, that was almost the same thing, but not quite. It was more as where I was trying to make everything so perfect that I ended up not doing much at all. And I felt like I didn't perform to the best of my ability there. And that's what made me upset. And, I have lost before, like in my amateur career where I got beat up, And I went home, got some cookies, and some milk, stuff like that. And I was cool. I was like, yeah, man, I got whooped today, but it was a good fight. The fight that hurt me the most was when the last one in Minnesota. It was not Minnesota. It was Milwaukee, where I was fine afterwards. Like I just kept thinking I'm fine. Like I don't have any injuries. I'm not hurt. I'm not tired. And I lost. This is like I was so infuriated by that. So, I tried to fight in January. I got a fight in February by grace of God, and then I was able to compete. and get some of that frustration out. But also when I went in there, I was okay. You gotta be more busy, and you gotta like really press the action more because one, these guys don't have the same mentality. Like they're strategic also, and they're gonna look for ways to win. They're trying to win. And trying to win doesn't necessarily just mean like, oh, I'm gonna go in there and trash the guy, because that's what it meant to me. Like before, I'm going to destroy this guy. I'm gonna win. But some of these guys are like strategic, and they're counting the points. They're like using the fight IQ. Like not just for striking, but also like, okay, I'm gonna hold him against the fence for a little bit. I'm gonna hit him here. I'm gonna do this and do that. I'm gonna be ahead on points in this round, and they're gonna try to win that way. So you have to use all those things to be able to get the victory, and that's what I've been doing. So even though I won that last one, I still made a whole bunch of changes in my life to make sure that the next fight I have and going forward, I'm able to compete with all the best guys, and beat them.
That being said, I mean, you've had a quite a layoff now. How do you go into this fight and say, you know what, I can't try to be perfect? Like you said, trying to be perfect that you don't end up doing anything, but at the same time, not making like silly errors. I mean, there's got to be some ring rust that you're going to feel as soon as you get in there. Have you prepped for that? Like, I haven't fought in over a year, and how do you think that layoff is going to affect your performance?
Well, I mean, I'm really, really lucky when it comes to ring rust, because one thing I've learned throughout my life is that when it's time to fight, I fight, right? So, and it's not like a cartoon where the bell rings and then you go into like a trance, But it's just that when I know somebody's trying to hurt me, I fight back. Like the fight that I had when I had a contender show, I hadn't fought for like 2 years. It was like 2 years without a fight. Our fights getting canceled constantly and all kinds of craziness. And I fought. And this one is going to be the same thing. It's like when I get in, I'm ready to fight because I prepared and I've trained. I think ring rust really settles in when you don't train as much as you used to. So it's like you're coming back in and not willing to push yourself as hard as you used to push yourself because you don't remember what it's like, But I've managed to keep a lot of notes about how I train and make sure I'm hitting the same numbers and exceeding them to make sure that I'm back to the same spot, and also to level of comfortability. Luckily for me, like striking is the thing I love the most, so I'm always practicing and like doing weird stuff to keep my skill sharp. As far as striking goes, so that's where the fight starts. And then as far as grappling, I know that I need to work on it, so I work on it. I can make sure that I keep it fresh, so I'm able to execute whatever I need to in the fight. And I think that's how I keep ring rust at bay. But another thing on top of that too is that I like to fight. So like I say it as a joke, but serious too. Like I like to. So when it starts, it's more of me having a good time. And when you can get into that mode when you do something that you really like, how you kind of just time just kind of goes by and you get into it. That's what happens. That's what's going to happen. In the fights where I've been less active, or that loss that I had, I didn't have time to have a good time because I was trying to like calculate all these things, But now I'm back. So I feel good.
Speaking, I want to touch on the Contender Series because you did compete on it. You had a lot of success on it. That's back. The Contender Series back. There's what advice would you give to fighters coming in? I mean, you've got to feel so much pressure knowing that Dana White's there, knowing that a UFC contract's on the line, and knowing that a finish means so much more, right? Like a win doesn't get you that contract. So what advice would you give fighters coming up on the Contender Series?
It's more about I don't want to be cliche and say believe in yourself, but if you don't believe in yourself, believe that they believe in you. Because you're there for a reason. What you've done so far is what's gotten you there. So do what you've done to the best of your ability, and then you can be successful. And if not getting the contract, or if not this, at least you'll say that, hey man, I did the best that I could. Right? That's the most important thing. If you go in there and just say, okay, I'm just gonna go all out and swing and try to finish, that could work out for you. But if that's not your style, might not be good. So, and you can put pressure on yourself that you don't need to. You have to at that point. And I think I don't know for sure, but I think what they're looking for is a person who fits the mold of a professional fighter in the UFC. Someone who's confident in their game and their ability to win and their ability to finish an opponent. And that's what they want. They want somebody to approach and get the finish with confidence. And I think I think that's what really, shocks them. It's kind of like when you watch shows like American Idol and stuff like that. When people are singing and they hit that high note and they hold it in the crowd, oh my gosh, like it's the same kind of thing. It's like you're doing your best and you're doing it with confidence, and that's gonna let them see that you can handle the other guys. Because the worst thing, and the one thing that I've always been, not always, but the last couple of years been afraid of, is like getting into a situation where I'm good enough to beat some of the people but not everybody else at the top, And I think one of the worst things they could do for a person is take somebody who's able to win a contender show, but then can't beat the guys in the UFC, because these guys in the UFC come to beat you. They're coming to win. So I think that's what they want. They want that confidence in the execution and the finish and the entire fight.
Your upcoming fight is going to feel a lot like the Contender Series in the sense that it's at the Apex and there's no one in the audience. As someone who's fought in front of no audience, do you think that's going to favor your fight style? You're going to end up performing better without the audience? Or do you like to feed off the crowd, the crowd's energy? Or do you think, you know what, I don't even notice it?
Definitely going to notice it because I love the crowd. It's something. It goes all the way back to like being in school and you hear fight, and everybody goes rushing. I love that. And then on top of it too, I used to do Muay Thai before, and there's this thing that happens in Thai boxing matches when we have somebody in the corner, you're throwing the knees, the crowd's like, woo, and even in like WWE when somebody's hitting somebody with a chest chop, and the corner's like 1, 2, all that stuff to me since I've been a kid has been exciting. So I'm definitely gonna notice it for sure. But it won't affect my performance because for me, the fight is, is like the main course, right? So I feel like the audience, as much as I love it, is more of a, like an additional thing in the meal. It's not the main thing. I've also fought in it was amateur world championships in Scotland, and there was a crowd, but nobody was paying attention to you because it was like 5 fights going on at the same time. It was like a tournament thing, and that was probably the most confusing situation I've been in. You look outside of the ring and you see a bunch of people running back and forth. So I've had a lot of experience in this kind of situation, and for me, it's gonna be fine. I feel as though I'll get more excited because I'll be able to hear more things, and I just gotta make sure that I don't get what's the word, like distracted and enjoying the atmosphere too much. Just go in there and do my work, and then it'll be done.
So throughout the pandemic, there was one big thing in the UFC. It's so much hype behind it, and that was Fight Island. Mm-hmm. As someone who's, the majority of your pro career has been in the United States. I think you had one fight in, I think it was a Czech Republic. Yeah. Is that something that you'd be open to, competing abroad, or are you very much like, I like staying home. It's I like it here.
Well, the thing about it was I was talking about the fight in Scotland. It was an experience for me. Fighting is the whole thing is an adventure. I fell in love with the sport from watching like people fighting in Japan. Like watching Ernesto Hughes and like all the guys in K1, watching all the fights in Pride Championships. Like that was exciting to me. And one thing I always loved was the build-up matches, the build-up promo where they show the guy getting off the plane and walking through, and like you see him and his team hitting pads in the corner. Like all that stuff got me really excited for fighting. And I've experienced that. The first time was in Scotland, and then every other time since when I went with other teammates abroad, or even when it was myself, it's always an adventure, man. Like people see the fights, but they don't understand that like for the rest of my life, every fight that happens, every single one is a night in my life that things will be remembered for the rest of my life. Even if I've had probably like 40-something fights by now, like across my career, like Muay Thai and like MMA and all stuff like that, like amateur and pro. But like if I find a video on my computer or I see a certain date, I remember that day. Yeah, I was fighting that. And then we went and saw Avatar afterwards. Blah, 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 like all these things like come back to mind. So I like the adventure of it. I would definitely be open to going to Fight Island. I was actually trying to go. Like seeing if I can get there, but I got this date. I got this day here, and I'm fine with that. Fighting in America it's just where I live, and also it lets my family be able to watch it at like a regular time. So that's exciting too. But for the Fight Island thing, just the aspect of traveling there and having that like atmosphere to me was what it was. It was to me the like my 9-year-old self like watching Bloodsport. Like to know that I would do that in the future would be so ecstatic. So that's why I kind of wanted to go. Kind of like just for me to have fun. Really.
All right, I'll ask you a couple more questions and I'll let you go. The platform. So I started this back in March, like interviewing fighters, but I had a platform from doing two things. One was making predictions, which I'm awful at, and the second is making matchups after fights. So, is there a dream matchup for you, whether it's realistic, like they're currently in the UFC, or former fighter? Is there anybody that you're like, you know what, I wish someday I could, or someday I could have competed against this person?
Oh, that's a lot, actually. For me, and you know, when I talk about this kind of stuff, I always try to make the point that like I'm not saying that like I want to beat this person up, because you know, like it's like if I was a tennis player saying like, oh, I want to play against this person, it's not because I don't like them, because I respect their skill and I want to fight, I want to fight them, and I want to compete against them, you know. So for me, an amazing fight, something would get me excited would be fighting. Well, I don't know what order to put it in. Robert Lawler would be amazing, and that's a fight that I would love, because I've been watching him fight. When I watched him beat Melvin Manoff like way back then in Strikeforce, I said I want to fight that guy, because Melvin Manoff was one of my favorite fighters going through his fights in Japan, and I was so surprised that he beat him, man. Like Manoff was kicking his legs away from him, like it was ridiculous. And he came back and won. I was that guy as something special. And then also when he fought, well, two great fights that he had. One was against Matt Brown, which was an amazing fight, and also the other one against I can't remember. I can see his face. Huh?
Rory McDonald.
Yes, Rory McDonald. And when I watched this fight, I was like, man, you know, because I always wanted to have a fight like that, you know, and like where you're just going all out against the person, and you're able to everything just disappears. You just in there. That would be one. Another one would be Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. You know, because I feel like we have not similar styles, but he thinks a lot, and I see him setting things up and measuring, and I do the same. And he has like he has the karate background, and I started off doing kung fu and stuff like that. You know, so I feel like it would make for a good fight and an action-packed one, because I'm really accustomed to guys throwing spinning kicks and like side kicks and all this other stuff. So I wouldn't be as hesitant to step in as some of his other opponents have been, because yeah, I'm used to fighting that kind of stuff. Yeah, so that'd be a great one. And then I can go on and on. I mean, you know, it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of fights.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, usually like people are always like, man, the legends. It'd be awesome to compete against a Robbie Lawler. I mean, to have a name like that on your resume, win or lose. I mean, you just fought a world champion, one of the best ever. You know, an icon of the sport. And same thing with Wonderboy as well. And then the matchup, man. There's a big fight this weekend: Daniel Cormier versus Stipe Miocic. Yeah. I can't go through this without asking you, what's your thoughts? Who do you think's winning it?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna be a little biased because like I'm a fan of DC. Ever since he fought Bigfoot Silva, you know, and then on top of that, I trained with him for years. so that's another thing. But I feel like DC's going to this fight. In the first fight, he finished it quickly. He finished it with hitting him. You know, he struck him and he was able to finish him that way. In the second one, I feel as though Miocic tried to figure him out and tried to like prolong things so he can try to wear him down. In this one, you gotta remember, DC's a smart guy. Like, you know, he's competed in the Olympics. He had all this just training before. He has his coaching staff with him. He's gonna be able to make the adjustments to make sure that whatever Miocic goes for is very, very dangerous. Doesn't mean that it won't be open for him, but it just means that if he goes there, he's gonna pay a price for it. And I think that's what you're gonna find in this fight coming up. I'm gonna see him very motivated and very I want to say cerebral. I say cerebral, yeah. Like, but very like you know, just watchful in what's going on, and then when it's time to attack, you're gonna attack. I don't think it's gonna be a match where, you know, he's gonna be overwhelmed at all, or he's gonna have any like issues dealing with him. He's gonna make Miocic missed a lot, I'm sure, but also when he comes in, like pay for it. And I feel like that kind of style, and also of course you could hit him as hard as heck and drop him again too. So the possibility is there, you know. But I feel like that might force Miocic to wrestle with him, and if he does that, it's done. like it's done. If he goes in and tries to wrestle with DC, it's done. I feel as though most of the fight is going to be DC pushing the action and deciding where to go. That body shot stuff that he did last time is not going to be, you know, the avenue for his victory in this fight.
I like that. I like the breakdown. I'm a huge DC fan as well. I mean, I didn't like DC because I'm a huge John Jones fan. But once that thing kind of like subsided, like I like DC. He's actually a good guy. As a diehard Jones fan, I didn't like him there for a long time.
I understand, man. I was a fan of Jones before, you know, and I'm still kind of a fan of Jones. You know, it's like the fighting style, and you know, you can't put down the guy's fighting style, or you know, like when people have a rivalry. Like, you know, if you like two fighters and they have a rivalry, I don't want to put down one guy and be like, this guy is not as good as whatever it is, because you know what makes the fight so exciting is the fact that these guys are so good. You know, John Jones' fighting style, you know, has affected the MMA world and made things, you know, like change. You know, and also same thing with DC. You know, so it's like you appreciate both styles and inherently, you know, also both fighters. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So your fight's 2 weeks away. What's the message for everybody out there? People who want to watch your fight. What's your message? How are you going to get it done? And describe your fighting style for anyone who hasn't seen you fight.
Oh well. How I'm getting it done is not really a secret, because if you see me fight, you know what I'm going for. I'm trying to finish the fight right away. So I'm always going for the knockout. That to me has been what's excited me the most about fighting growing up and even now. You know, I think that's the most exciting way to win. So I'm going for that. My fighting style is a little weird because I started with Kung Fu first, and you know, I worked into Muay Thai and then Jiu-Jitsu and wrestling later on. So I do a lot of different styles. You know, it's not really just one. So that to me, you know, is interesting to watch as well. And how am I gonna get it done? Yeah, I'm going for the finish. You know, I know that you know, I'm fighting a guy who's bigger than me. So I have all my game plan set for that. And you know, I know that I'm not gonna hold back. I'm not gonna feel sorry for the person like that, because I mean, you know, I really need to make sure that I'm pushing myself not just to win the fight, but to win the fight in a way that'll satisfy me. Because you know, I feel as though even though I've had some really great wins so far, I'm not expressing myself to the best of my ability. I'm not showing my full potential. I'm not as active as I should be, and there's been reasons for that. And I've hoped that in the last like few months I've addressed those reasons, so that you'll see the best version of me that's ever existed. You know, like if this is that movie, Jet Li movie, The One. Is it The One where he fights all different versions of himself? And well, it's just like an older movie. Like, you know, like that this will be the version that I am right now, the one that destroys all of them. You know, so I'm if you ever have seen any of my highlights and you want to see a good fight, then you know, August 22nd, tune in, because it's gonna be the best you ever seen.
I love it, man. That's a great way to end it. All the best. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Don't catch anything. And man, I can't wait. Can't wait to watch you fight.
Thanks so much, man. I really appreciate it.
All right, man. All the best.
All right.